Good afternoon and welcome to the next concurrent session of the day, Economic Software Demonstration. Our presenter today is Catherine Schaefer. If you have any questions for Catherine during the session, please feel free to enter those into the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom room screen, and we will address them at the end of the talk. We're also giving away 3 $25 Amazon gift cards at the end of this session. To enter for a chance to win, click the link in the chat to enter your name onto the prize wheel. On that note, I'll hand it over to our presenter.
Thank you, Kristen. And yes, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Kristen, can you just confirm that you can see it? I've had some technical.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. So I'm going to be talking about giving a walkthrough of our economics materials. Before we jump into the software itself, I did want to just talk about a few things in regards to our economics materials. Real quick, an agenda for today's session. I'm going to give you a brief introduction on who Hawks is, talk about some of our economics materials. We'll talk specifically about the course offerings that we currently have. We'll go through the student experience. I'm hoping that we'll have a little bit of time for the instructor side as well. There's a few things I'd like to show in there, and then I will be sure to leave time at the end for any questions that you have. Real quick, again, just who Hawks is, who we are. We have 3 core values that we put at the front of everything that we do. The first one is affordability. So we like to keep the materials as affordable as possible to your students while still maintaining those quality materials. Number 2 is support. So our customer support, not only instructors, but also our students. We're available Monday through Friday via phone until 9 p.m. Eastern time. So you or your student can call directly into Hawks. We always answer within the first 4 rings, and it will be a live person that will be able to help you or your student right then and there. We're also available 24/7 via live chat. So again, if you or your students up late at night and having some technical difficulties, we are always happy to help and are available around the clock. The last core value is our mastery learning, which is just our pedagogical approach. And I'll share more about that specifically once we jump into the student side of the platform. Real quick, I do want to mention we do offer a variety of different purchasing models. So we do have your traditional direct to bookstore. Students walk into the bookstore, purchase their materials. We also have where students can purchase directly through Hawks. And then we also have inclusive access. I know that this has become a very popular topic now, so we do offer that as well. You can see based on this chart, the variety of different things that are offered in each of the different models. So access to course content on the first day available for any of our models. Lifetime access, students can receive the lifetime access to the software in these first 2 models. You can add the additional print materials. So a lot of different ways for your students to purchase their materials from Hawks. One thing in here I do want to mention with our economics materials is pricing. I know that this is a big focus right now. So just so you know, our principles of microeconomics and our principles of macroeconomics, they're the same price, but they are a net price to the bookstore of $43. So again, keep in mind that if you use the traditional bookstore method, the bookstore can put a markup on that, most likely will put a markup, and that markup varies depending on the store. But for the software with the ebook, it's a net price of $43. Another thing I'd like to mention about our economics materials is that we do take the contributor-centered approach. So what I mean by that is you will notice on these titles, we don't have a single author or even 2 or 3 authors. We worked with a number of instructors across the country in creating these materials. And so you'll see that in the materials, and I'll share a little bit more about that as we jump in. So speaking of, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the student side of the platform. Before we jump into the content itself, a couple things I do like to mention at the top of the screen in this black ribbon. On the far left-hand side is this grades tab. This is where students can access their up-to-date grades. We do fully integrate with different LMS, so grades can transfer over with the automated grade syncing. single sign-on where students can access everything directly through the LMS. And then there's some other features depending on the LMS that you're using as well. Next to that is the ebooks tab. So the online PDF version of the text automatically comes with the purchase of an access code. So students can access that here. In this discussions tab, a few features are two features here I'll point out. First is this live chat. This is a place where you can host virtual office hours. Discussion board is a place where you could post a topic and students could thread their responses to it below. Now moving to the right of the screen, you'll see this bell. This is our internal alert system. So when a student logs in, they may see this red circle with a number inside of it. This is indicating how many items are in high priority or in need of the student's attention. So when they click on that bell, it'll break those items up by due today, due tomorrow, or if they have any past due. Next to that is our envelope. This is our internal messaging system. It just acts as an additional way to communicate with your students. What I most commonly see this feature used for is our automated assignment reminders. And the way that this works is, let's say at the beginning of the semester, you want to set it up where 24 hours prior to any homework assignments due date, you wanted it to send an email reminder letting your students know that they have 24 hours to complete that assignment. You set it up one time and you don't have to think about it again. Throughout the semester, it'll send those email reminders to your students, reminding them that they need to complete that assignment. On the flip side, I work with a number of instructors who prefer to send it 24 or X number of hours past any due date, reminding any student who has not yet completed that assignment that they could still go in and complete it for partial credit or whatever you may offer. In this drop-down menu, a couple things I will point out. The first is this live support. So this is where students can access that 24/7 live chat for, again, any technical support questions. This is where they can access it directly through the platform. They can also anybody can find our information by simply Googling Hawks Learning. So very easy to get a hold of us. Below that is a training video. This is just a brief video showing students how to navigate the platform. And then the give feedback win prizes. We love getting students and instructors feedback, and in return, we'll enter them into a monthly drawing of a gift card. Now coming down onto the platform, I am going into the microeconomics. Please keep in mind that everything functions the same across all titles as well as all disciplines. But when a student logs in, they'll see the course that they're enrolled in. They'll see their school, their instructor, and the section they're in. And then they'll have this mini to-do list with any of the assignments you've already assigned to them, broken up by due today, due within a week, or due later. Now, a student can click directly into any of these lessons from this screen, or at the top right-hand corner of this box is this blue View Course button. Students can click on this, and it's going to take them to a comprehensive to-do list. Again, all of those assignments you've assigned and the corresponding due dates on the right. Now, real quick, I'm going to jump over here to lessons. One thing I do want to mention is that we again did work with contributors across the country in creating these titles. The number one thing that we really heard in the creation of these titles was that students are coming in here lacking some of those basic math skills. So I did want to point out that at the beginning of each of these titles, you'll see a chapter 0, which is a math review. So these are some of the topics that we heard students really struggling with and that they really need to know in order to be successful in one of these courses. So here it's completely optional if you want to use them or not, but you could assign them to all of your students. We have a pre-created diagnostic test that you could assign, and then it will assign the lessons to each individual students based on how they perform on that diagnostic. But I do like to mention that because I think that that is important to know. Now I'm just going to jump into a homework lesson. They all function the same way. There's 3 modes in the recommended learning path: learn, practice, and certified. So students will start in this learn mode, and this is going to be a multimedia presentation of the textbook content. So everything that the student would find within the physical textbook can be found right here in these screens. One thing I will mention is at the beginning of each lesson, you'll see this blue box, our flash forward box. If you are not familiar, hopefully you are with Quizlet, where anybody can go in, create a set of Quizlet cards or flashcards to study from. We have created a verified set that students can use in order to study for any kind of homework, test, quiz, whatever it may be. So we do offer that for each individual lesson. Another thing that I'll mention is that we have embedded, again, you'll see these blue boxes kind of sprinkled throughout the learn mode. We know it's hard to get students to read a textbook these days, so we want to keep students engaged in the content as much as possible. So here is an example of a group activity. You'll see here is an on your own where students could put in their answer, check it directly here. Again, doing whatever we can to keep students engaged in the content. At the top left-hand corner of the Learn mode, you'll see each lesson has this watch button. If you click on this, it's going to take you to what we call our lesson level video. This will be a brief video of an instructor talking about the lesson as a whole. Now, these are not intended to take the place of lecture. They are very brief videos, but to be an additional resource for your students. So they are great for a student who maybe miss a day of class, preparing for an upcoming test or quiz. The last thing I'll mention about the Learn mode is that on the instructor side, we do give you the option to customize these screens. So we give you our default content or default curriculum, but you can hide any of our screens, replace them with your own, add your own notes, again, add your own videos, completely customizable. So once a student has gone through Learn, they are ready to move on to practice. And practice is really going to be just that. This is going to be a penalty-free environment, a place for students to practice the concepts that they were just learning. Excuse me. All of the questions in the practice mode are algorithmically generated. So students are not receiving the same questions in the same order as their peers. Now, because in the practice mode, we're not taking this for a grade, we do offer students a number of learning aids that you'll see at the bottom of the screen. Starting in the bottom right-hand corner is this try similar. Students can click on this, get the same question type, just a different iteration or a different scenario. Each question type has 30 to 50 iterations depending on the question, so they can really work through as many of these as they wish. To the left of that is skip. Students can skip over questions. They can focus their time on the ones that they struggle with the most. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in an answer here. And just like any online system, it'll show the student if their answer is right or wrong. So this is an example showing me that I got the answer correct. I'm going to click try similar. Let's put in another. Now this is an example of showing that the answer that I put in is incorrect. So if the student gets the question incorrect, they'll have two options. They could go back and try again. Maybe they know exactly where they made their mistake, or they can click on this explain error. We actually have a built-in artificial intelligence that's going to pinpoint and diagnose common student errors. So it says here, you were asked to calculate the interest rate elasticity of savings for the following scenario. And then coming down, it says your answer is incorrect. You flipped the equation and divided the percent change in interest rate by the percent change in quantity of savings, so on and so forth. I won't read everything for you, but not only do we want to tell the student that they're wrong, we want to tell them why they're wrong. And so students are learning from their mistakes right then and there. We know that students are up late at night completing their homework. You're probably not available to help them at that time. There may not be anybody else in the household available to help. So we want to give them the feedback that we truly believe you as their instructor would give to them if they were to come see you during office hours, class time, anything like that. Now coming back out, let me jump over to another question. And let's say a student gets to a question and they just have no idea where to begin. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see this tutor button. Students can click on this and it's going to take the students step-by-step how to solve the problem. You can see at the top left, we're on step 1 of 5. Students will put in their answer, be able to move on to the next. They're really just holding the student's hand, guiding them down the path of answering it correctly. At the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can see that students can toggle back to Learn. They can go back and reference a part in the text, or they can click on Solution to see a fully worked out solution with the correct answer. Now, once a student has gone through practice, they are ready to move on to certify. And certify is really just Hawk's fancy word for homework. So this is the part that we're taking for a grade. You'll see in here, it looks very similar to practice, same question types, different iterations. Again, the questions are algorithmically generated, so students are not receiving the same questions in the same order as their peers. The biggest difference between practice and certify is that in certify, we have removed those learning aids from the bottom of the screen. Students no longer have skip, tutor, try similar, any of those. We know that when students are given crutches, they're going to learn to lean on these crutches so much that when it's time to remove them, say come test time, students aren't able to stand on their own. So we really want to hold students accountable for knowing this content, this material, and that way they're better prepared and performing better on your tests and quizzes. Now, the last thing that I'll mention in the certify mode is that we do take the mastery approach. And what I mean by that is every lesson will have a number of questions, and of those questions, by default, we're expecting students to get about 80% correct. If the student reaches that 80% mastery mark, we're actually going to give the student a 100% in the gradebook for completing that assignment. Now, I will say that 80 is our default. You can change that on the instructor side to whatever you think is best for your students. Could be 95, 75, completely up to you. In this specific lesson, though, you can see at the top left, we have 10 questions, but if you look in the middle, there's actually 12 possible points because of some multi-step questions. Again, by default, expecting them to get about 80% correct. So that means they have a little bit of wiggle room. At the top right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see this red heart with a number and 2 inside of it. This is indicating how many strikes or lives or questions a student can miss and still receive that full credit. Now, let's say a student reaches that third incorrect question. So they've gone over their allotted number of strikes or lives. We're going to stop students where they are in Certify. We're going to take them out of Certify, place them back into practice where they're going to receive a custom set of questions based on what they missed in Certify. So they're not going back and having to start all over again. We just want them to go back, work on those few question types that they struggled with, and then we're going to allow them to come back into Certify, attempt a new set of questions, and still have a chance at getting 100%. So we found that this has been a more motivational approach to homework because students know that they have the chance to do well. So that's a quick overview of the student side. I will pause just a second. Kristen, do we have any questions that have come in yet? I'm going to jump over to the instructor side, but I want to answer any questions that may be related to the student side.
Yes, we did have one question come up. Is there a tutorial for students to learn all of the features, or is it up to their instructor to instruct them?
No, great question. So I'll, and my screen is still shared, correct, Kristen?
Correct.
Okay. In this drop-down menu at the top right, that training video, that will talk about each of the features within the platform. So it is not up to you as their instructor to need to share that with them. You know, it is, I think, beneficial for you to know, just so you know that what students have access to and where. But the training video does cover all of those features for students. Great.
And I will add in too, at the beginning of the semester, we'll offer virtual live student trainings. We'll normally send out emails about that in advance. So if you currently use Hawks, or if you're considering using Hawks, you would receive notification about those upcoming live student trainings as well.
Great question. Any others, Kristen? That was only one for the student side so far?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So we'll jump over to the instructor side. Again, feel free to throw in those questions in the Q&A, and we will be sure to cover those. I do think that it's nice to see some of these features on the instructor side as well. You know, we went through the features for your students, but I'd like to point out a couple of things here as well. One thing I will mention before we jump into anything is that we do offer a number of instructor resources. So we have fully created PowerPoints. We have chapter projects that are available for our economics titles. We have an entire, what we call a mini site that give you access to all of this information. But we do have a lot of those instructor resources for you. Now, jumping in here, you'll see at the top left, these different tabs. I'm going to mostly stay under assignments. I do like to mention a couple of things in here. I do think it's nice for you to see. We'll start in lesson due dates. So before we jump into anything, I want to mention that on the left-hand side, you'll see a list of my sections. On the right, it will show this drop-down menu. Everything in our instructor gradebook is completely templatized. So once you create the template once, you never have to recreate it. You can copy it over from semester to semester. You can push it out to other instructors. But again, once it's created once, you never have to recreate it. Now, I will go ahead and jump into a section. And I do want to mention I am in a college algebra, and I know that that's not economics, but I have fake data in here for when we get into reports. And I think that that's nice. It makes it a better visual for you to see those reports. But in here, if I scroll down, you'll see a list of all the lessons available for that title. Again, keep in mind it would be the economics, but click on the calendar to the left and very easy to go through and assign the homework lessons that you'd like. Now we do have pre-created homework lessons and you are welcome to use those, but you do have the option to customize, and I will show you that in just a moment. Before we jump over to the curriculum, I do want to point out at the top right above this blue ribbon, you'll see the first one, which is shift multiple due dates. Let's say, for example, you have inclement weather and class is canceled. You need to shift those dates for your students. You can put in the first lesson that you want to be shifted, what you want the new date to be, and then when you click go, it'll shift all of those after that you have assigned that number of days. So it makes it nice so that you're not having to do it by hand. The next one over is show additional options. By default, when you assign a homework lesson within Hawks, it will appear in the student's to-do list, but maybe you don't want it to appear until a specific day. You can click under visible on and choose the day that you'd like it to. The last one here is set prerequisites. So if you have more of the self-paced course, You could require that students complete, let's say, for example, lesson 1.1 before they complete lesson 1.2, and you can set all of those there. Now, coming back out under assignments, I'm going to jump down to curriculum. So as I mentioned, you can customize the questions that students are seeing in the homework. So in the practice and certify mode that I just shared with you. On the screen, I will scroll down just a tad. You'll see again a list of those lessons on the left. It will show you the number of questions that are included in that lesson currently, the number of steps, so if there's any multi-step questions, and then you'll see the number of strikes or the mastery percentage, both which you can change from here. Excuse me. Now, if you click on a lesson name, so I'll click into 1.1, you'll see on the left it's going to give us the question bank. So this is the entire question bank for that lesson. And then on the right, it will show you the questions that are already included in that lesson. Now, very easy again for you to add any questions from the left or remove questions from the right. So again, you can come in here and easily customize those homework lessons. Now coming back out, a couple of other things that I'll mention. By default, when a student is completing their homework, students can jump directly into certify. Now, you do have the option, and you'll see this here, the second option on the left. You can allow students to unsuccessfully attempt certify X number of times before requiring practice. And then if you require practice, you can set the percentage of the questions that you want students to answer within practice. So for example, I work with a school that this sticks out to me the most. They allow their students to come in to certify one time, attempt it. If they are not successful and they do not master it, then they have to go back to practice and answer 75% of the questions in practice before they can come back into certify and attempt a new set of questions. So that is an option. Another popular option is our flex mastery. I see this used a lot where you can choose if you want to allow students to attempt another question within certify, the same question type, just different values. So you can allow them to attempt a new question without receiving a strike. And if you want to, you can choose the number of times you'd like to allow them to attempt a question type. So those are some of the most popular options here that I like to mention. The next one down is web test. This is where you can create any kind of test or quiz. Now, in order to create a new one, you'll just click create new towards the middle of the screen. I'll jump in here real quick, show you. It looks very similar to the lesson builder tool that we were just in. But you'll see the question bank on the left and our test is on the right. It is blank right now, but I will show you how to add questions. There's two different ways to add questions to a test. So I'll click on chapter 1 to expand it. The first is maybe you want the computer to generate 15 questions from 1.1 through 1.3. So I've checked all of those boxes and I'll click add. It's going to generate those 15 questions for me on the right. Another way, and honestly, the most popular way I see is that you can jump around to different chapters, lessons. You'll see that each of the lessons is hyperlinked. You can click on a lesson and now you're seeing the question bank for that specific lesson, where again, you can go through and hand select the questions that you want to add. So if you want, you could click on this add button on the left. It'll show now that it's in use one time. You can click it again if you want this question type to appear twice in the test. But again, very easy to go through and hand select the questions that you'd like your students to see. At the top left, you can follow this kind of trail of breadcrumbs and move back. So if you wanted to jump back over to a different lesson or a different chapter, you do have the option to do so as well. Now I'm going to jump out of here real quick. Let me just click into edit to one of these real quick. I want to show you the different, there's two different ways you can assign a test. Well, first you could print it for paper pencil. So if you want to export it to a document, that's at the top right, or to the left of that, you can click assign, and that's to assign it online. There's a couple things I do like to mention in here that I think is good to know. First is under general settings. These are the things that you will have to do. So you'll have to put in the start date, end date, start time, and end time. Past that, you can make it password protected, put a time limit, allow multiple attempts. All of that is there. Coming back out, the next one down is student settings by test. Let's say, for example, a student missed the day of the test. You're allowing them to make it up. You can edit the settings for that specific test for that student. Next one, again, prerequisites. If you do more of a self-paced course and you want students to complete all the lessons that you've assigned in chapter 1 before they can access the chapter 1 test, you can set those there. I'll click into additional settings. A couple things I'd like to mention here. We do partner with Respondus Lockdown, so you can require that. If you're not familiar, it is so students cannot access anything outside of the test. We also can enable Respondus Monitor. So if your school has a partnership with Respondus Monitor, we can set that up where students can be monitored during all of that. You can make it pass-fail. You can make it diagnostic. So a lot of other things under additional settings. Manage IP template. We work with some schools who require students to complete a test within a specific lab, so we can put in the IP address range for that lab. And then the last one here is student settings by student. The number one thing that always comes to mind is, let's say, for example, a student receives time and a half due to special accommodations. You can set that there, and it applies to each of those tests or quizzes that you have assigned. Now, coming back out, the last thing here under assignments that I'll mention is Question Builder. And I'm not necessarily going to click into it right this second, but I do like to mention, because I know instructors have questions that they like to use from semester to semester, just questions that they have created. So we actually give you the same tool that our content team uses in order to put questions in our question bank. So you can, you have the Question Builder tool. You can create your own questions, use those however you like, homework, test, quizzes, whatever it may be. You can make it multiple choice. You can make a graphing question, a whole lot of, a variety of different question types that you can do there. Now, the last thing here, I'll jump over to this last, or the tab to the left of assignments reports. You'll see here that we have a lot of reports on this page. They are broken up into 3 columns: grading, lessons, and web tests. So if there's a specific report you're looking for, we probably have it. We did pull 4 of our key reports to the top of the screen. So this is what we see our instructors using the most. So starting on the far left-hand side is this all student scores. This is what I consider just your typical grade book. If you click on display student scores and scroll down, you'll see a list of your students, final grade, letter grade, and the different assignment groups that you've created. You could expand any of them to see the individual scores. From here, you could click on the score and you can change the due date, change the score, review the assignment, all of that directly from here. Coming back out, the next one over is detailed student grades. So you'll see here in this box, you can click on it. It'll give you a drop down with a list of your students. You can click on the student's name. And if you scroll down, you'll see every assignment that you have assigned, when they've completed it, if it was on time, late, or still have not yet completed it, what their grade was. On the far right under actions, you can click on the 3 dots. You can edit the score, edit the due date, and review the assignment from here as well. Now, this third one is search by criteria. This is a place where you can put in a set of criteria and see what students fall within that. So you'll see that it's broken up into 2 different boxes. On the left, we have grades, and on the right, we had activity. So starting under grades, maybe you want to see a list of students who have a grade of 0 to 80. You can filter the report. You'll see a list of those students that fall within that criteria. From here, you could select all and send an email to them directly from this screen. So the whole idea behind this report is that we want you to be able to address your students' needs, but also save you time. So you can see that there's a lot of students here. I can select all, click send message. It'll pull up an email that you can send directly to those students to address the needs of them. On the right, maybe you want to see students who haven't logged in for a week. So I'll put 7 days, filter report. Again, you can see a list of those students, and then select all to send an email directly from this screen. Coming back out, the last report that I'll mention here is our assignment reviewer. This is one of my favorite reports, one that I wish that I had when I was in the classroom. At the top, you'll see that it automatically defaults under lessons. So those homework lessons, you can see the same thing for web tests. So any of your test quizzes, I'll say under lessons since that's where my fake data is. But if you scroll down, you'll see this bar graph. You can see at the bottom each of those homework lessons that you've assigned or that we've assigned. You can see the number of students who have completed it on time, late, or overdue. From here, if you scroll down, you'll see again a list of those homework lessons, the number of students that have certified, and the average time spent in each of those learning modes: learn, practice, and certify. Now from here, if you click on a lesson, so I'll just click into 1.1. Now it's going to show us on a per student basis. So on the left, you'll see a list of my students. You can see if they've mastered it or not, the number of attempts it took them, when they completed it, and their individual time spent in learn, practice, or certify. From here, you could, excuse me, click on a student's name, and you can see each of those attempts. So the student had 2 attempts. You can click review attempt to see the exact questions that the student received, what they submitted as the answer, and if it was incorrect, what the correct answer is. Now coming back over, so that's under students. If we toggle over here to analytics, this is now going to show us on a per question basis. So again, in this bar graph, you can see that there were 10 questions in this homework assignment, but this is a great visual for you to see where your students may be struggling. So we can see that half the class missed question 10. You can click on that. It's going to show you the question type that your students struggled with. I have some instructors that I work with that will pull this up in front of class. There's not any individual student data on this page, but a great way for you to go over commonly missed questions, whether that be on homework, tests, whatever it may be. Now that is just a brief overview, everything that I was going to share with you. I know we are ending a little early, but I do want to allow plenty of time for any questions that you all may have.
Yeah, we have one in here right now. What happens if a student experiences internet connectivity issues? Can they resume their assignment later? They were asking specifically for the certification part.
Yeah, great question. So yes, they'll be able to come back in. There's also a setting under the curriculum where you can allow, X number of paused attempts. So you can choose how many times you want to allow your students to come back into the certified mode.
Yes. All right. What learning management systems do you integrate with?
Yeah, great question. So we integrate with Blackboard, Moodle, D2L or Brightspace, and Canvas.
Great. Could you show your graphing tool that you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me, I can jump in here real quick. I can show you from the student side. Let me jump to a different lesson now. Bear with me just a moment. We can go into this lesson. I think this lesson has some graphing questions. And are you hoping just to kind of see what a graphing question within Hawks looks like, or is there something in particular that you are hoping to see within that?
I'll give you a minute to answer.
I can jump over. I can share what I know is in this lesson.
Just the functionality.
Okay, perfect. So here's an example of a graphing question. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can see students can shift the lines here. They can also plot a point and then move that around. Does that kind of help show you? This is for this specific question type or what they're specifically asking, but that's how they can shift on the graph.
Thank you, Catherine. I think it's also, she said thank you. I think it's also important to note that students can graph using their keyboard in case you have any students who are unable to use their mouse for any reason at all. Just important to note.
Yeah.
What resources do you offer for instructors?
Yeah, so as I previously mentioned, we do have the fully created PowerPoints where you can download and edit those from there. We also have chapter projects that can be used. So if you want one more hands-on, we have a guided notebook, which can be, is I guess kind of a student resource, but also for instructors where it takes students through the learn mode. So through that instructional content, but helps with note taking and things like that as well.
Great, thank you. If I have my own videos and notes that I'd like for students to see within Hawks, is there a place I can add those?
I'm sorry, repeat the question. My internet.
If they have their own videos and or notes that they would like to add into Hawks, where would be the best place for them to add those?
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be in the learn mode. So in that first mode of the learning path, you can customize those screens. So you can add in your videos, you can add in your notes. Very easy. You just need the URL, for example, for a video, and then you can copy and paste it there and it will appear in the learn mode. So that would be the best place to post those.
Great, thank you. One other thing to note there that might be of interest to you all is that you can hide a Hawks Learn screen or replace the Hawks Learn screen. So like Catherine mentioned, if you add your own video or notes to the Learn mode, it can show on the same page in addition to the Hawks content, but it could also replace the whole entire screen, or you could entirely hide the Hawks Learn screen even if you don't add your own content. So very customizable. Any other questions? I'll give you guys a minute.